Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating shift in how we think about education. It's this idea that real, deep learning isn't just something that happens in your head. It actually involves your entire body.
For centuries, education has pretty much run on one big assumption. In the classroom, the mind is king, and the body, well, it's just kind of along for the ride. And as this quote points out, that's led to the body being ignored, or worse, seen as something to be controlled.
And this fundamental split, it actually has a name: Cartesian dualism. For generations, this idea has pushed education to focus almost exclusively on brain power. Tests, memorization, abstract thinking. The physical body was treated as little more than a vehicle to haul the brain to and from school.
But what if that whole way of thinking is just wrong? Well, there's a growing mountain of research that's challenging that old split. It suggests that we don't just learn with our minds, we learn with our entire body.
This right here is the heart of what's called embodied learning. The whole idea is that our minds are fundamentally connected to our bodies. Knowledge doesn't just appear in our brains. It actually grows out of our physical, sensory relationship with the world. Basically, thinking isn't separate from doing. It's shaped by it. Now, what's really interesting is that this can look a couple of different ways. On one side, you've got active embodiment. That's when you're physically using your own body to figure something out. But then there's also passive embodiment, which is a little more subtle. It could be as simple as watching an instructor's gestures, or even just moving a model around on a screen with your mouse.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, it's learning you can literally see and feel. Think about a child using their fingers to count. They're connecting an abstract number to a physical thing. Or a surgeon learning about the sense of touch from a craftsman. Or even a student using hand gestures to work their way through a tricky math problem. It's all about making learning tangible.
Okay, so the theory sounds pretty compelling, but does it actually make a difference? The research is pretty clear on that, but it also reveals something: a surprisingly narrow focus.
A huge meta-analysis that pulled together data from 46 different studies found a clear, moderately positive effect on how well students perform. The takeaway here is really simple. When students learn with their bodies, they genuinely seem to learn better. It works.
And check this out. The data gets even more specific. The more the body is involved, what researchers call high-level embodiment, like using your whole body to move, the bigger the impact on learning. So it's not just a tiny effect. It actually gets stronger the more physically engaged you are.
Okay, and here is the crucial point. All the research, all the data, all the strategies we've talked about, they're all centered on one person in the classroom: the student. The entire conversation has been about how the student's body can improve the student's learning.
So that student-focused approach, it naturally leads to a really important and kind of overlooked question. What about the teacher?
Think about it. In this big rush to understand how students learn with their bodies, have we completely forgotten about the person who's guiding all of that learning? What is going on with the teacher's body?
While some research shows that a lot of teachers are actually pretty disconnected from their own bodies while they're teaching. They might only become aware of their physical state during really stressful moments, and this can create a real gap between what they're feeling inside, what they want to achieve, and what they're actually doing in the classroom.
And this brings us to a really cool new concept called somatic coherence. It's basically the powerful connection between a teacher's awareness of their internal state, their breathing, their posture, their stress levels, and how effective they are as a teacher. It's all about building a bridge between their inner world and their outer actions.
So if the teacher's own embodiment is so critical, how do we even begin to help them build that awareness and that coherence?
Well, the first step is admitting that our old ways of training teachers, they're kind of broken. So much of professional development is this passive sit-and-get lecture where teachers are just talked at. It's so ironic, right? They talk about active learning, but fail to embody the very ideas they're trying to teach. What we need is a whole new model for professional development, one that is itself embodied. A model where teachers aren't just told what to do, but are given a safe, collaborative space to physically act out lessons, to analyze their own movements on video, and to actually practice these new strategies with each other.
And this really clicks with what the educational philosopher Parker Palmer said years ago, that great teaching isn't just a collection of techniques. It's not about what a teacher does, but about who a teacher is. It comes from their deepest identity and integrity. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. If great teaching truly comes from a teacher's identity, and our bodies are such an inseparable part of who we are, then how much have we been missing by leaving the teacher's own body out of the conversation this whole time?